Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of What Ted Says. And do you want to know the single biggest financial mistake people make in their 50s with their money? I bet you do. If you listen, especially to tips 4 and 5 on what I give you here on this video of What Ted Says, I'll tell you some of the big money moves I've seen over my career that you want to make right now if you hit the big 5-0. And all of this isn't necessarily bad news. The older you get, the better a chance you have to take advantage of special tax laws that work in your favor or ideas that you simply couldn't do in your 40s. The first financial move that you want to make or look at in your 50s is considering doing a backdoor Roth IRA. Now, most people in their 50s have heard of a Roth IRA, but they have not heard of a backdoor Roth IRA. And no matter what your income level, remember you can always fund a traditional IRA. But that's just where the fun starts, because once you fund that traditional IRA, at any income level, you can immediately convert that traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. Hence the name, the backdoor Roth IRA, because first the money goes in the traditional IRA, then you convert it to a Roth IRA, and then at that point, this is not about making a tax dodge, but it's an important piece of making sure that you have income down the road in your retirement that will come out tax-free. And this is the way if you make too much money to get yourself to fund a Roth IRA account. Now, one of the second moves that I like for people in their 50s is to make sure that they fully fund their health savings account. But a lot of people don't know about this little rule about doing a one-time election for moving money from your IRA account into an HSA account. Let's remember this. The HSA account is still the only triple tax-free account that exists at all in the marketplace, meaning that you can put money away pre-tax. The money inside of that account will go tax deferred, and ultimately it will come out tax-free. Now, there's a lot of people that want to retire before the age of 65. So one of the challenges is that you might have a gap between the time that you qualify for Medicare and figuring out your health insurance or your overall medical bills. Or even in retirement, you may need additional money that you need for dental or vision or other things like that. Well, the HSA is a really universal account. A lot of people don't realize if you have more than $2,000 in that account, you can actually invest your money inside of an HSA account. I see so many people that actually still have the money in a money market account in their HSA account. But what this election will allow you to do on a one-time basis, maxed on the cap of the HSA rules for that year, is move money one time from the IRA into the HSA account. In that essence, you may be able to take dollars that would have been taxable at one point and actually get them into an HSA account where they will come out tax-free. That's a smart move to make in your 50s. So the third smart money move here is to develop a TAS, and that's actually called a tax allocation strategy. You know, all I hear from financial advisors even, but a lot of times clients look at, what should my asset allocation be? How much in stocks? How much in bonds? How much in real estate? That's not actually the really smart move, because if you think about it, even beyond asset allocation, you got to have a tax allocation strategy. Because consider when you take money out of your assets down the road, the one thing that you will not know is where tax rates will be. And so you should have some dollars that you put away pre-tax, they go tax deferred, and they eventually come out on a taxable basis. These are things like your 401k plan or your 403b plan. You will have some assets that you essentially get taxed along the way. You may pay interest, you may pay dividends, and ultimately those assets might have, when you sell them, capital gains taxes. So you don't know where capital gains rates are going to be, but some of those assets on capital gain rates as it stands today could be lower than ordinary income tax rates, and then ultimately some assets that you will never pay tax on down the road, i.e. like Roth IRA accounts. Often, people when they do their retirement plan are looking at the right way to split up their assets, but they're not looking at the right way to split up the buckets of taxation for those assets. In your 50s, you really want to set up that plan to make sure that the asset allocation strategy and the tax allocation strategy all line up for your retirement. The number 4 move that you want to make in your 50s is to aggressively pay off your debt. Now, I've helped thousands of families go through this, and I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest saddlebags that you could have going into retirement is debt. Obviously, consumer debt, student loan debt, yes, for people in your 50s, automobile debt, or any kind of personal consumer debt will be very, very bad. But I'm actually a big fan of paying off your mortgage before you retire, and it's something that you want to focus in on your 50s, and that may mean that you double down on your mortgage payments or you make one extra mortgage payment a year. But if you consider really trying to plan out your expenses, one of the easiest and quickest ways to get yourself to a successful retirement is to make sure you have all of your debt pay off. So tip number 4 in here is to aggressively pay off your debt in your 50s. And the final smart money move to be making in your 50s is to shore up your insurance. And what I mean by that is that now that you're in your 50s, this may be the last time that you can qualify for any reasonable rates on life insurance. And by figuring out, do you want to have life insurance just for the next 5 years, the next 10 years? Will you have debts that will last longer in a retirement? Or do you just want to have some permanent insurance for your future? Because remember, once you have certain medical conditions, it can be really, really hard in order to be able to get life insurance. It's also the time that you maybe want to looking into long-term care insurance. And everyone's got a different family history or knows somebody that may have had to go into a long-term care facility. But while you're younger and the costs are less expensive, there are a multitude of options on the ways that you can solve for long-term care insurance. But ultimately, when you look at your health insurance, your life, your long-term care, your disability, and your auto and home, this is a great smart money move to shore up your insurance in your 50s. So now you have the 5 money moves for your 50s playbook. This is the key playbook that should get you ready to put the ball right in the end zone for retirement. This decade may be one of the most important for funding money toward making work optional, paying down your debt, and thinking about getting your kids off a payroll. If that ever happens. In the next video, I'll show you some of the best money moves to make in your 60s so you can really set yourself up for the sunset of financial success and how to protect your assets for your children down the road. As always, thanks for watching this episode of What Ted Says.